Hello, and welcome to the LifeWorks podcast, where we share lessons learned from the trenches of life and business to help you achieve more, live more, and be more. I am your host, Mark Botros. Hello, and welcome to the LifeWorks podcast. Joining me today is Career Coach Extraordinaire, Lorraine Rise. She's the CEO and founder of Career Uprising, a career coaching firm that supports clients all over the world and in every major industry. Lorraine, it is a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. You have a fascinating backstory. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started Career Uprising.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of an accidental business owner. It was not something that I had any intention of doing. In fact, I actively resisted the idea of being an entrepreneur for years, even though it was whispering in my ear many, many times. For years, I resisted it for a lot of reasons. To be honest, I didn't really think that I was that type. I didn't think that I was, smart enough or savvy enough or whatever. I just never really identified when I was in my 20s with owning a business. It just sounded hard, right? It didn't sound like something I was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny how life just kind of threw me in that direction. Um, so I started out just wanting to get into the corporate world and have a 9 to 5 job and get out of retail when I was in my 20s, and that was my immediate goal. And I did that, and I worked in the corporate world, and I was in HR, and I was a manager, and I kind of checked that box, right, of what I thought I wanted when I graduated. And I did that for a number of years, and it was good. I was happy for a little while. I liked being a trainer and a manager and hiring employees. And I was doing sales. I was doing things that played to my strengths. But I don't know, after about 5, 6 years of that, I just kind of reached a point where I thought, wow, this isn't really satisfying me as much anymore. I have the schedule, I have an office, I have it was all these surface level things that I said that I
Sure,
wanted, right?
sure.
Which I think is kind of how you think in your 20s, right? I just wanted like an office, and I wanted to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and all
Right.
these things. And I got that. And then I did that for a while. And then I realized I wanted really meaningful work. I wanted to do something that made a difference. I wanted to take it to the next level. And so the idea of coaching people and starting a business started to whisper in my ear, but I didn't have any real motivation to rock the boat at that point. I was okay in my work and everything. But I did go through a period of multiple separations and layoffs in my 20s, just job searching all the time, no fault of my own, really, just circumstance. It happened one after the other, buyouts and acquisitions and things like that.
Of course.
And funny, I realize all of that now is shaping my work as a career coach, right? All those experiences that I had were preparing me for the work that I was going to be doing. So but anyway, in 2015, I had an unforgettable experience being at a kind of the proverbial toxic job for the first time in my life. I was completely mismatched for the culture at this company. It was just not right at all. I didn't fit in working at a little teeny startup with just a few employees. And I think they didn't know what they needed in the position that they hired me for. Everything was very ambiguous, and it ended with me being abruptly fired, which was absolutely okay because I started my business.
Wow.
That was the motivation I needed, right? So I had the inspiration, but I didn't have a reason to make a bold move. There was nothing urgent happening, right? So we sometimes don't act on things until there's a crisis, right? Or until there's a reason to really take a bold action.
Yeah.
And so I got that reason in 2015. And here I am.
Wow.
So I said after that experience, I said, I'm working for myself. I'm going to make this for myself. I'm going to coach people who have gone through what I have gone through, or to help people avoid what I have gone through, to help people find the right job, not do what I did and just take the first offer that comes along and it's terrible. And
Mm.
So that's what I do. So that's the short story. That's the Cliff Notes version of the last, 10 years of my life. But here I am. It's been 5 years since I started Career Rising, and it's awesome. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And so it's funny how I'm the perfect example of how all the things that you go through in your life prepare you for where you're going to be. I think that's true for all of us, right? We just
Yeah.
don't see it at the time. So
Right, right. Well, and congratulations are in order because you've been getting a lot of really good press lately,
oh, thank
e-
you.
especially in the time that we're in now, especially with COVID-19, the economic shutdowns, the epic and unprecedented unemployment that we've seen, or at least that we've seen by percentage, since the Great Depression. um, and you've been getting a lot of really good press about what you've been saying about essential jobs. And so I'm curious, and I'm sure other people are curious as well. Should people start orienting themselves toward essential jobs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think somewhat. So here's the thing. I'm never an advocate of somebody taking a job that they're not a fit for, which is kind of what I just said, right? Like I've been through that, right?
Right.
So I think there always needs to be thought and intention into your next move. And it needs to fit your skills. It needs to fit your priorities. And maybe some people's priorities are shifting right now. They might be, right?
Hmm.
A lot of
Right.
people I think are shifting their priorities to short term, to they're kind of in survival mode right now. So it might make sense for some people to take what's kind of considered an essential job right now, but in the long run, I would want people to think about, yes, is this an industry that's going to grow and be around? That's always a good consideration, but
Right.
you have to give equal consideration to, can I really do this job? Is it really a match for my aptitude and my skills? Or maybe I need to just change my skills. Maybe I need to get some training or certification so I can better fit this. So
Mhm.
I kind of take a balanced approach. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a good idea to be aware of what is an essential job or what is a job that's going to grow and be around in a post-pandemic world. But
Yeah.
I want people to give equal consideration to, what are they going to be able to stay in, right? We don't want to try not to make too many short-term moves that just kind of add up to where am I going? We
Yeah.
have to balance the short and the long term, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So it may make sense to some people, maybe other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What percentage of your customers are victims of COVID-19 versus those that are looking to change jobs and careers
Mm.
as a natural course of their career?
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of a mix. It's a little bit of a 50-50 mix. I would say definitely in,
Wow.
in March and April when all of this first started, I saw a huge influx of business, but interestingly, it wasn't people who were laid off necessarily or had lost their jobs. It was more people who were just taking this time to make that long-term career change,
Mm.
right? To do what they had always wanted to do, always wanted to get into this field. So now they're doing that. They're kind of changing their skills and reevaluating their path. I think a lot of people are taking this time now to reevaluate things, whether they have to or just want to, right? So
Right.
I've seen a lot of that, but I will say the biggest change and the biggest trend that I have seen, this has been really fascinating for me to see, is my demographic is normally mid and late career professionals pretty exclusively. I work with people who are 40, 50, 60 plus, and that's been the case for pretty much the whole 5 years that I've been doing coaching, but that has completely changed.
Mm.
I have seen an absolute influx of millennials and young grads reaching out for help. Yes. And it's been astounding to me to see a complete flop of my client base right
Wow.
now. I don't market myself to young folks. I actively market myself to mid and late career professionals. That is my client base.
Hmm.
But I have seen a string of young folks whose parents are stepping in and helping and paying for my services to
Wow.
help this new grad get a job,
Wow.
because, and which I think is fascinating, because I didn't do anything to make that demographic switch happen. It just happened. This is just who was coming my way, right?
Right. Right.
It's so I'm serving who's coming my way. and
Yeah.
I'm kind of pivoting, but I'm thinking, wow, this makes a lot of sense because I can see why the parents would be really concerned because they have this young, new grad who's now done with school, supposed to be moving out on their own, supposed to be finding an apartment and moving out of the house, right? Their
Yeah.
parents' house, and might not be able to do that. If they can't get a job, they're going back home. And a
Right.
lot of people are moving. Young folks are graduating college and moving right back home because
Yeah.
they don't have a job offer or they had a job offer and some of them are getting them rescinded as well because the job's no longer there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. I can see how the parents would be just concerned for their kid and wanting to see them be successful and maybe also not wanting them to be in the house all the
Right.
time, right? Because a little bit of both. Because I
Right.
have a number of parents right now paying for my services to help their new grads. Really what I'm seeing with COVID is the young folks who don't have a lot of experience, right? To back it up. If you have a big net, if you've been around a long time, you have a big network.
Why did you choose the mid to late career market?
So the funny thing is I didn't choose it at all. It found me. When I first started my business, I think I was like a lot of business owners and a lot of coaches, and I would literally sign up anyone who would pay me.
Mm,
Really, I
mhm.
would. I mean, that's kind of what you do. You don't know what your niche is. You don't have a lot of confidence. You don't have a lot of experience. So I didn't really know who I was going to be the best at serving. So and plus I just wanted to start, making money and being financially secure. So I just enrolled whoever I could. But what happened was about I keep kind of track a little bit of my business in terms of, the general age group, male, female, unemployed. I've always kept some stats because I've always been curious who I'm
Yeah.
helping. And about 6 months into my business, I took a hard look at who was reaching out to me and I evaluated it. And I said, oh my goodness, it's the 50 plus crowd. That's who's consistently reaching out to me. I didn't do it
Yeah.
on purpose. I feel like my niche found me very much so. And so when I learned that, I just embraced it and I started kind of, doubling down on that because that seemed to be a group that really needed to be served. That's who was reaching
Mm.
out to me. And it makes a lot of sense because there certainly are barriers in the job search at that age. And I think that it's very normal for people who are about mid career, 45 years old, to really stop and reevaluate
Yeah.
what do they want the second half of their career to look like. So it's
Right.
kind of like that mid career crisis a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's very real. So I just embraced it. I thought that's fascinating. This is obviously a group that needs my help. And maybe it makes sense that me as a millennial, I guess I think I technically am an old millennial, they might see my youth as an advantage as somebody who can help modernize their approach and help them to look more technologically savvy or modern on LinkedIn. So I think it really makes a lot of sense. So my niche found me and I embraced it.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. So, in this day and age, a lot of people are being laid off. Um, what can a layoff do to a person emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and even physically?
Wow. Well, I can tell you from personal experience. Yeah, I've been through five, I think, five or six, or actually,
Wow.
no. Yeah, I think five or six layoffs or separations in about 7 years in
Wow.
my 20s. One, was the firing, but then the rest were all just acquisitions, buyouts. That's kind of what happens when you're in like the tech industry, and something like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
So I've been through that a lot. Here's the thing, it does whatever you allow it to do, right? This is how everything is in life. It's all about what you make it mean. You can make a layoff mean that you're not valuable, you're going to have a hard time getting hired. How
Yeah.
are you going to explain this to your next employer? You can make it mean all these negative things, and I understand that mindset because I've been there, so I know how tempting it is for people to go to that place, and I sympathize with that. But it what I was able to do was really detach from a lot of that, and I was managed to always keep myself in a positive place because I knew when I was laid off, it wasn't about me. I knew I had value. I knew I had skills, and there was somebody out there who was
Yeah.
going to hire me. And that mindset drove my success. Despite all of those layoffs that I had, I remember the longest period I've ever had of unemployment was only 5 weeks. And I
Wow.
truly believe that that is because of what I chose to make those experiences mean and how I chose to take action, massive action. I never took a break in between jobs and took
Yeah.
time off. If a break happened and I had time off, great, but I kept job searching. I immediately would start job searching. I took
Mm.
action right away, and I took it from a very positive frame of mind, because people can take action from a very negative and fearful place or out of obligation because they have to. And I think that person is going to get very different results than the person who takes action from a very positive and hopeful place, saying, I'm happy to be doing this because I'm going to find that next great opportunity, versus, I hate job searching. This sucks. Why did they have to lay me off? How long am I going to have to go through this process? I don't know who's going to hire me. We can go to that place if we want, but our results will reflect it. So
Mm.
that was the reason for my success. I know that because I can put myself back in that frame of mind and remember what I thought. And there were moments, believe me, where I had frustration. It's not like it was all just sunshine and roses. There were definitely moments of frustration at rejections and how it felt like it was taking a long time. And I can't believe I'm in this situation again. I was just job searching last year. I
Yeah. Yeah.
know all of those things, but you have to master your mindset. So what can it do to a person? It's up to you, right? It can put you into despair and affect your health and your mindset and your family relationships, or
Right.
you
Right.
can make something positive out of it. And it's not always easy to do, but that is what separates the people who are successful and get deployed again quickly and the people who don't.
Mm. Mm. Thank you for that. So given what you just said, what percentage of job search or career change is mental and emotional versus mechanical? The updating of a resume, the actual process of searching, reaching out to contacts, things like that.
Mm. Yeah, it's not what people think, for sure.
Yeah.
The vast majority of it, in my opinion, it truly is mental. And the reason that I say that is because if you're not in a positive mental and emotional state, if you're not prepared to do this search and the work that will be involved, and there will be work, um, if you're resenting the whole process, you're not even going to be open to what I have to say to coach you through those mechanical aspects, right?
Mm.
And this is
Mhm.
absolutely evidenced in one of the young folks that I'm coaching just recently. She's an active client right now. And there's just a lot of self confidence that we have to overcome, kind of some negative, limiting self beliefs in there.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I have to work through that first with her, because she's not really hearing the other stuff, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that is the majority of it. It's over half of it. If I had to put a number onto it, 60, 70%, that is the first step. You've got to be in a headspace and
Yeah.
emotionally to do this process, because it can be difficult, right? There's going
Yeah.
to be perceived rejections, right? There's going to be work involved. There's going to be outreach. And a lot of people don't think this. They come to me and say, oh, I need a resume update. Oh, I need my LinkedIn profile written.
Right.
And
Right.
yes, we'll do that. We'll do that. But first, I want to know more about, what are your expectations for this job search? What is your mindset? Do you have time set aside for this? What is your outlook on this whole process? So there's
Sure.
a lot of things that we have to go through first. Now, some clients come to me in a great spot. Absolutely. They're like,
Yeah.
yep, I'm ready to take action. I'm motivated. Let's do this. Awesome. Let's go right to the job search process.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there are some folks who are like, I don't know if people are going to hire me. I don't know. I don't want to call that person. I don't want to put myself out there, or I don't really have
Right.
time for this. There's a lot of
Yeah.
that, and that's mental and emotional barriers, whether they
Wow.
recognize it or not. So sometimes people come to me for one thing and they end up getting another, right? They get coached on something
Right.
that they would, because I will have to stop clients and say, so I feel like we need to go there in this direction. I know you asked me this, but based on what you're sharing with me, here's where I want to take the coaching. Here's what I think you might need at this moment if you're open to that. Sometimes I have to stop and change the direction of it because I see what they need and they don't. And that's a
Mm,
challenge as a coach. That's a challenge sometimes because
yeah.
they think they need one thing and you know they need another, and you have to make them see that.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of work do they have to do on their end to go from despair to hopeful?
I think they need to figure out where that despair is coming from, right? So life is about what we make it mean, in our
Right.
association. So somebody maybe has learned to associate the job search process with pain and hard
Yeah.
work and negativity and rejection. And this just sucks. I hate this process. No one likes this, right? Those are the kinds of things that people say. So you have to figure out, well, where did you learn to think that way? Why do you think
Mhm.
it has to be like that? Where did this despair come from? Because it's only going to really be painful if you make it painful, but you learned to think that way from
Mm.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So I ask a lot of questions about why. Why does this have to be hard? Why does this have to be difficult? Why does it have to take a long time? Why do you feel like you won't get hired? Why do you think somebody's going to turn you down just because you're 50, right? Where did that come from?
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
we have to question our own beliefs and ask ourselves if they're serving us. And if that's really what we believe and what we know to be true as a fact, or if it's something we adopted and kind of like absorbed from other people, social
Mm.
media, society. We absorb all of these other thoughts and beliefs and we buy into them. And they were never really our beliefs to begin with, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that. So I have to challenge those beliefs with people, especially the age thing is a big one. Because
Sure.
yes, age discrimination does happen. Let's not say that it doesn't.
Mm.
But I think we go looking for it where it doesn't exist sometimes,
Mm.
and maybe other kinds of discriminations because they'll say, "Oh, I didn't get that job. They didn't hire me because I'm old and I have gray hair." Believe me, I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And I say, "Really? How do you know? Like, do you know that for a fact? Maybe they
Yeah.
did. Maybe they didn't." And it doesn't really matter. You're going to have to push through that. Nothing changes the fact that you're 50 and have great hair, right? And you still need a job. We're
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
you going to do? Like push through it? Does it
Yeah.
really matter? No. So I have to work with people to kind of challenge that belief. And it's about, to answer your question, it's about asking yourself where your beliefs come from,
Mm.
and are they really your beliefs and facts? And do you want to keep believing it going forward? Is it going to help your cause to keep believing it going forward?
It's incredible.
Mm.
That's an incredible response because what I hear you saying is that job search or career change or anything that we're doing that would create value for a company or an organization, that this whole process is not just the mechanics of a resume or a LinkedIn profile, that there's that really it's about, it really does come down to belief, and
Mhm.
that the majority of it comes down to what you believe, and that is actually what's going to manifest in reality.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
incredible. That's
I think
incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm living proof of that. This is just things that I've learned, right? Because from my own experience, like I said, I remember being in my 20s and being laid off for the first time. And I truly thought to myself, whoever
Wow.
gets me next is going to be lucky. I really believe, and it wasn't big headed. It was just that
Right.
I believed in myself. I
Yeah.
knew, I was like, I'm a good employee. I show up, I work hard, I do more than the minimum. I look
Mm.
at these things as facts about myself. And that drove my actions. So even though it was exhausting sometimes,
Yeah.
I had this positive mindset while I was applying for jobs. And it really helped me to manage the so called rejections and things like
Sure.
that and push through them and keep going. And I truly believe that that is why I was always able to get employed again so
Yeah.
quickly.
How did you develop that confidence in yourself? Because that takes some work.
It does. That's a good question. On one hand, I want to say I confidence I've developed over time, but
Mhm.
more than anything, I what I have learned, and I did it on my own podcast. I did a show all
Yeah.
about confidence
Mhm.
because what I have learned is that confidence is a choice. It is just nothing more than a
Mm.
conscious choice. It
Wow.
is available to every one of us at every second of the day, in every opportunity, every situation. you can be confident at any moment. I've learned this,
Mm,
that if anyone displays more confidence in life than you, they're choosing to be confident. Because I could choose to be not confident in anything,
mhm.
and I could choose to be nervous, have anxiety, not believe in myself. So it's funny. On one hand, it's developed over time through life experience, which I think is normal for a lot of people. We do,
Of
in some
course,
way, some
of course.
ways, tend to get more confident as we get older, right?
Yeah.
But more than anything, I've just learned that I I can make a choice. No matter what is going on around me,
Mm.
I can choose to be confident in myself or not. It's a choice like everything else. Every emotion we experience is a choice. Whether we realize it or not. Emotions are conscious choices.
Wow.
So that's really where it comes from. I think ever since I was young, though, I've always been very spiritually focused and very aware, and
Mm.
personal growth and personal development is just something that was fostered in me from my parents from the very beginning. It's just I'm blessed in that way. It's something I've always valued
Yeah.
and
Good for
developed,
them
and
and good
even
for
very
you.
much
Yeah.
so in college. I was very much aware, and my spiritual beliefs were really important to me,
Mhm.
and that has only grown, and that's been my foundation for everything, including my confidence.
Right now, we're in cataclysmic economic times, and we've seen unprecedented unemployment. Ever since the Great Depression, and by numbers, just it's even greater than it was back then. So, how does a person find a job during times like this? Is it
Mhm.
any different than times of prosperity?
It's funny how I think it is and it isn't, right? When we go through something like this, we have to kind of remind ourselves, yes, a lot of aspects of what we are going through right now are unprecedented, but they're kind of not. When you look at history, I mean, we've been through, like you said, the Great Depression, we've been through recessions before. As a species, we have been through so much. We've been through 9/11, we've been through all the world wars, and we're here. We're still here, right? We're going to get through this just like we've gotten through everything else in history. But I think that we forget that sometimes, especially if
Yeah.
it wasn't in our own lifetime, right?
Right.
Because I didn't personally experience, Vietnam and all those things, but I can
Yeah.
only imagine the world must have changed afterwards as a result, right? I did live through 9/11. I know that the world changed as a result of that, and we're going to be okay. So we're going to get through this. We don't know how long it's going to take or what it's going to look like, but absolutely, the process very much is still the same. And I think, if anything, more than ever now, what we were just saying about mindset is going to be even more important. That
Yeah.
has never been more important than now. It's easy to have a good mindset when things are rosy, right? When the economy is up and,
Yeah.
unemployment is down and things like that. So this is truly an opportunity for us to test what we know, to test our faith and test our resolve,
Mm.
and fall back on those principles that we know to be true. So this is where the rubber meets the road, right? So
Right.
now's the
Right.
time to put into action everything that you say that you believe and that you know to be true. So in a way, it's the same as what we've always done. It's just
Mm.
everything I think is emotionally intensified right now.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit intense, but we're gonna get through it.
I hear what you're saying about things being emotionally intensified, but that the process is still effectively the same, and
Yeah.
what we think, regardless, it still translates even more so now than ever. Is a successful job search or career change, is it highly targeted, or is it just simply a numbers game? The more I put out there, the higher the probability. What's your thought on that?
Oh no, it's going to be targeted. Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. So if you think about it, it's not that different than sales, right? So anybody
sure.
who is in marketing or sales will tell you that you need to know who your customer and who your audience is, right? That's who you want to target, who is potentially going to buy your product. So you do market research to find out, okay, who's
Hmm.
potentially going to buy my product? What are they interested in? What are their problems that I need to solve? And then you target a campaign, a marketing or sales campaign around that, rather than just kind of shooting it all out there, shooting
Yeah.
an ad thoughtlessly out there and hoping somebody clicks on it, right? That
Right.
would be the kiss of death in marketing. I don't think there's anybody in marketing who would recommend that you just spend money and shoot it out there and see who buys it, right? That would really work. So if that doesn't work in marketing, why would that work for you now in a job search campaign? The
Mhm.
callback rate on applying online strictly is less than 5%, most people believe. Not to say it couldn't work. I have gotten jobs in my youth, in my early 20s just by applying online. It's happened to my husband, but it's also happened that he's gotten really good jobs by referrals and people who he knows. So what I tell people, I take kind of a balanced approach. I say, the job boards aren't bad. It's okay to apply
Mm,
to a job every now and then on a job board, but don't
yeah.
make that your only strategy. Don't make that your primary or only thing that you are doing. You need a healthy
Mm,
mix of talking to people, sending your resume out, engaging with people who know you and could possibly recommend you or
right.
work at the company that you are interested in. But that's a scary process for people who've never done it and don't have maybe some confidence,
Right. Yeah.
and are accustomed to just shooting resumes off blindly online behind their computer. It gives kind of the illusion of productivity because you feel like you got a lot done. Yay, I applied to 20 jobs today, right? But probably none or maybe one are going to call you back.
Right.
So
Right.
it's about taking more of an approach of not just being productive, but being
Mm,
effective,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. How important is a person's network in this process?
It's very important, absolutely. But I have to convince people of that a lot. I think that and I don't want to make too much of a generalization, but I do think the younger generation, it's a little harder. I would probably have to coach some of them a little bit more on that because they're accustomed to having a lot of like connections on social media, but how well
Right.
those people really know you, right? How deep are some of those relationships? Whereas I do see that not always, but as a whole, the older generation has that larger network and they have
Mm,
people who know them and they've really built those relationships. So I don't want to draw that conclusion too much, but I as a whole I do see a little bit of that. um,
yeah.
it's very important, absolutely, because at the end of the day people still get people jobs. There's still a person doing the hiring behind that online posting that you see. So
Right.
that has not changed even with technology. I don't think that's changed yet.
Mm. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that people can sort of give themselves a little bit of an edge. I'm curious to know what you think about like premium services, like if you were to go, if you were to do like LinkedIn Premium, or or even hiring like a headhunter, or or even a career coach like yourself. What kind of edge does that give you over another person?
Just like, well, that's a great question. So just like anything else, I think it's what you make of it, right? So a lot of people ask me, "Oh, should I sign up for LinkedIn Premium?"
Yeah.
And I say, "Well, are you going to use it?" Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to educate
Right.
yourself on what all the benefits are and make LinkedIn a strategic part of your job search and use the benefits that come with it,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, it can help you. Is it necessary for every person? No. It's one of those things, just like hiring a career coach. You can't just sign up for it and then not change anything and not take full advantage of it. It's
Mm,
what you
mhm.
do with what you've signed up for. So, because I could have somebody sign up for my services, but then not really do what I'm suggesting or not be open to everything and not really change their habits and their approach. But luckily, most people who come to a career coach are prepared to do that. So that's a good
Yeah.
thing. That's why they came to a coach in the first place. But like
Yeah.
anything, I think those things absolutely have value, but it's what you make of it. You can't just sign up for it and then not take advantage of it. You still have to take action. Nothing replaces taking action.
Yeah. What about like headhunters, like, at the higher levels, at executive levels, or even not, does that give you any decided advantage, for those who can afford to use them?
Yeah, I think it can at that level. I think if you're at the executive level, it
Mhm.
can make a lot of sense because the executive job search can take they anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Sometimes that can be the higher up you go, the less
Oh,
positions there are, right? It's kind of like a pyramid. Um,
wow.
and
Wow.
So it's more, I think that it makes more sense at that level, yeah, to invest in some help. And that's a way for you to kind of broaden your network, because now you have their network of folks as well that they can connect you to a lot of hidden job opportunities that might be available not online, but through a
Yeah.
staffing agency or a headhunter, right? You don't really see a whole lot of, CEOs advertised on Indeed.com and things like that.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are often in the hidden job market. So yeah, I think those people, it can make sense to make that investment.
Yeah. And you just said something that I want to pull the string on a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the hidden job market. What do you see, what's the percentage roughly about, between what's advertised versus what's not advertised?
So that's a good question. No one knows for sure. There's a lot of
Yeah,
numbers thrown out there.
sure.
I've seen everything from 90% of jobs are hidden, 50% of jobs are hidden. I mean, a lot of people think that that number is inflated when you hear 80 to
Right.
90% of the job market is hidden. I think that probably is inflated, but
Yeah.
I would feel comfortable saying probably at least half of it
Wow.
is hidden. I mean, a good part of it, but no one knows for sure, right? We're all throwing numbers out there. If it's hidden, how can we measure it?
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
We're,
Yeah.
we don't really know for sure, but we do know
Yeah.
that there are a lot of jobs out there that are not advertised for a lot of reasons, right? If you think about it, a company is going to want to first, they might open it up internally first, then they might open it up to referrals and see if they can get a referral
Mm-hmm. Sure.
from an employee. They might use a staffing agency. And if that's the case, they're probably not going to post it online because the staffing agency wants you to come through them so they can get their commission. So
Right.
there's a number of reasons why you may not see it online right away. It may have, by the time it makes it online, it may have been open for a couple of months. That might be their last resort.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's hard to say. Different companies take different approaches, but I definitely think, like I said, the higher up you go in your career, the more likely your jobs are going to be in the hidden job market. It's the things like that are more hourly, working at a restaurant or retail store, that's going to be online. That's going to be online. And that's a generalization. I'm making a generalization, but that is
Sure.
generally the case, because a lot more, once you get up to the higher level and higher salary, higher responsibility, they're going to really want to put a lot of thought and attention to who they hire, and they're going to want referrals, and it's going to be
Absolutely.
expensive if they make the wrong hire at that
Absolutely.
point. So there's going to take a different approach.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people who are changing jobs or careers in this new environment? What advice would you offer them? For example, how to conduct themselves on Zoom calls and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that it depends on the person, but sure, if you're not, I would definitely say if you're not comfortable with technology and Zoom calls, get comfortable with it. Practice with a family member. Do a Zoom call with a friend or a family and have them give you feedback on things like your lighting and your posture and your eye contact,
Mm.
your tone of voice, all those things that are so important in that first impression. So yeah, little nitty gritty things like that. Absolutely. The things are going online, onboarding, interviews. It was already going in that direction, but now it's like
Right.
accelerated in that direction. But I would also say it's a lot of the same things. You're just going to have to push through and be persistent. Things are slower right now. So you
Hmm.
need to manage your expectations that hiring processes are taking longer. They really are. And that's okay. So don't assume that just because you didn't get a call back in 2 or 3 weeks even doesn't mean that you won't. So I think we all have to slow down, manage our expectations. Things are moving a little bit slower, although I think now they're starting to pick up. But
Hmm.
I think that that's really just the most important thing right now is that understand that you're trying to get hired in a pandemic. It can happen, and it's happened to many of my clients, but
Right.
be patient, right? Be patient and be persistent.
Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to the world, what would it be?
Oh, wow. No pressure. That's a big question.
Yeah.
Um, I would say follow your curiosity. Follow your curiosity instead of your passion. So, and the reason I say that is I received um, really an awareness and wonderful advice through my favorite author, Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she
Mhm.
was giving a talk where she said she used to be what she calls a passion bully, right? So she used to always tell people that trite advice of, Follow your passion. That's how you should find the meaning of your life or the right career, right? Follow your
Right.
passion. We hear
Right.
that a lot. But I
Yes.
think
Yes.
a lot of people get disillusioned by that because they don't know
Mm.
what that is. And then they feel like a loser, right? Because they're
Right.
like, why I guess
Right.
I don't have one, right? So she was giving a talk and she said, I don't say that anymore. Now I realize you just need to follow your curiosity.
Mm.
What are you interested in? What is fascinating to you? What do you want to know more about? And just be open and be curious in the
Yeah.
world, like a child almost. And that just might lead you to your passion. But we put overemphasis on having this one set path and this one passion, and that's just what you got to do with your life, right? And come away from that and just have a mindset of curiosity. And that's when I really think about that, that's what got me where I am today, because I had the boldness to say, well, I wonder what would happen if I started my own business. Would people sign up? Would I enjoy it? Would I be good at it? That's
Yeah.
curiosity. I followed my curiosity to see if that was going to be my passion, right? And it turns out that it was. And if it hadn't been, that's okay. I think that emphasizing curiosity over passion is so much more productive and more freeing.
Mm.
And so that's my advice to the world.
How do you intend to leave the world better than you found it?
Oh goodness. My intention is to do that through my coaching. That's a way of serving to me. I feel like that's my chosen way to serve the world is to help people enjoy their work better, um, be better at it, and find meaning in it when they want
Mm.
to.
Mhm.
And so I feel that if I'm able to do that, well, I'm helping them go out and show up in the world in a better way, and it's a ripple effect, right? So I'm using
Yeah.
my talents for something that I love, which is helping them to use their talents for something that they love. And if more and more and more people start doing this, it's just exponential. So I feel that my calling is to do that. But that's my way of serving the world, is to be a career coach. I know it sounds super cheesy,
Not
but
at all.
it's true, right?
Not
It sounds like a Hallmark card, but really that's what I feel is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And we all serve in a certain way. This is just mine. Somebody else's might
Mhm.
look better, but with every client I enroll, my intention is leave them better than I found them,
Mm.
help them in
Mhm.
some way,
Yeah.
and what that is and to what degree it varies between the client. But I always want to enroll people who I feel like I can leave them in better condition than I found
That's beautiful.
them.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you, that you think would be helpful for us to know?
Oh, I don't know. I think that I guess just for what we're going through
Yeah.
right now, I just would really urge people to really make the use of this time in this pandemic, and look past the
Mm.
media, look past the negativity, and look for the good and beautiful things that are happening right now, because
Yeah.
there are so many opportunities. I really truly feel like the world is going through an awakening right now, a spiritual awakening. I do.
I
And I
agree.
think that it's all for a greater purpose. These are just my beliefs, but
I agree.
I think it's all for a greater purpose. And in the end, the world will be left better than it was when this all passes. But we have to choose to see that, right? We have to choose to make something good out of this. So that's my intention, is to be a part of the solution with this, with economically and spiritually and emotionally. I'm trying to show up in the best way I can, make the best of the situation, and help other people to stay positive and push through this and realize that humanity's been through uncertainty before. We've been through
Yes.
challenges, we've been through crises, even worse ones than this.
Yeah.
Truly, we have. And we've survived and we've persevered. So there is no reason to believe that we will not get through this pandemic, and potentially even come out better than we were before. So that's what's on my mind these days.
Well, I think that the world needs more people like you, Lorraine,
No,
and
thank you.
and blessings on you, and thank you for taking time out of your busy life to spend an hour or so with me and with our audience, and for sharing everything that you shared. It's gold what you shared today,
Oh, thank you.
and I'm very very grateful to you for your time. And I look forward to seeing all the great things that you're going to be doing. I have a feeling you're going to be very busy going forward. Just with your approach, with the way that you think, that
Mhm.
you've got a lot of things on straight, I think.
Well, thank you. Thank
So,
you. And thanks for having me. I'm a fan of your show.
oh,
Honestly,
thank you.
so thank you. This is a great platform for me to be on. I think we have a lot of similarity and similar thinking and things like that.
Thank
So
you.
I'm just honored to be a part of the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Where can people find you online?
My website is careeruprising.com. But I also have the biggest presence on LinkedIn in terms of social media. So people would be welcome to find me. Just Lorraine Rise. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Lorraine Rise on there that I know of. And so I'm pretty easy to find with that last name. But yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn group that I recently started. So that's a great place to join my community and interact with me and get help for free. So they can join my LinkedIn group,
Awesome.
join my email list at careeruprising.com. Any of those would be great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Lorraine. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe or sign up for my free updates at my website at markabotros.com, and you'll never miss a post or an episode. And if you think that someone will benefit from this, please share with them. Please comment on it in social media and or connect with me personally. I would love to hear